Additional consideration paid for by the following. Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Center, Scott M. Grade D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. For further information, dial 740-386-6580. Also located on the net at goodbackbadback.com. That's goodbackbadback.com.
Scott Spears along with you on a Tuesday here on The Exchange, joined by Charlie Evers, Marianne Michaels, Lou Conkle, Shannon O'Neill, and Martha Douse-Manesi. Going to get the answer to yesterday's quizzer question right off the top here. How many crates did it take to transport the Statue of Liberty from France to New York in 1885? The answer was 214. Guess who came closest? The lady sitting beside me. Go figure. Go figure on that one. I'm going to have to do one of these numbers, Marianne. I'm going to have to cover it and hide it. And we'll have, again, a quizzer question at the end of today's program where you will have a chance to win again. But before we do any of that, we're going to go over to Charlie Evers with Fascinating Facts.
Okay, when you mentioned crate, I think of the crate in my barn. I used to have chickens, and I kept them in a crate. And I still have the crate. No chickens, though. That's a shame.
That doesn't fascinate me.
Really?
No.
Oh, it should. I wanted to mention, I talked before about your car and getting it in shape. Air filters are very important in cars. They're also very important in a furnace. And now it would be a good time, before they get so busy, to have your favorite furnace man come out and give it a good checkup. I suppose it costs $50 or $60. But that's better than waiting to the middle of the winter and having to wait weeks on the guy to come out and do any repairs. But every year, no matter what type of furnace you have, should have some kind of maintenance done, preferably right now.
In the fall.
In the fall.
Sounds good to me, Charlie. We're now going to slide over to Marianne Michaels for Words of Wisdom.
Well, this one is anonymous. And if at first you don't succeed, why don't you set more realistic goals?
Oh, that's good. That's true. So if at first you don't succeed, give up and try to set more realistic goals.
Don't give up.
Well, you got to give up to set more realistic goals, Marianne. That's
back down a little.
Back down. Yeah. Humble yourself and then try it again. And, oh my goodness, how could I forget this? It's Tuesday. It's Feng Shui Day. Marianne, which way? My toilet seat was up all last week. I don't know what to do. I mean, that's prosperous, right, Charlie?
No, it's supposed to be down.
Remember,
when it's not in use. I'm sorry.
When it's not in use.
You didn't get the advice very well.
Well,
well anyhow,
when should I leave it up?
Feng Shui is the ancient Chinese art of living. And I've been talking about the directives for your home, for sustenance or food, and also water. And today I'm going to talk about light and reflection. First of all, always keep your windows clean. I need to practice that, because that will ensure the clarity of vision in your life. Avoid fluorescent lighting, because in order to it will lower levels of negative ions. Keep mirrors framed unless they're recessed, because bad raw edges of the mirror, that would be the same thing as raw edges to your life, and you don't want that, of course. Cracked mirrors in your home, get rid of them, because they fragment your life. Now, when positioning your mirrors, be sure that you don't have them so they're reflecting one another, because what happens, energy will bounce all over the place and it'll be going absolutely nowhere. And the last thing about reflection and light is if a large mirror is not in use, then store it face down, because if it's not face down, energy emanations will cause chaos.
Why would I have a cracked mirror hanging in my home?
Well, not necessarily hanging. Maybe it's, you just
Oh, get rid
practice.
of it altogether.
Yeah, just
Okay.
get rid of it altogether.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good advice, Mary Ann.
And you know that's bad luck anyhow, when you crack
Well, sure.
mirrors.
I mean, so it doesn't really matter if your mirror's cracked or not. You got bad luck, right?
That's right.
Aha. We are going to take a look at some footage. Recently, the Monkey Mobile from the 60s TV series, The Monkees, was in town. We're going to take a look at that footage in just 1 second, and then we're going to come back with a great Ohio State football legend, John Hicks, and talk to him about lots of great stuff going on in his life. But before we do that, let's take a look at the Monkey Mobile.
An out-and-out segment for the exchange with Jim Hedges, owner of the Monkey Mobile. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the Monkey Mobile from the hit 60s sitcom on NBC, The Monkees went on. They're still touring. Davy Jones and the bunch are still out. We're just in Ohio, July of 2011. We're on Church Street here in Marion, where Church crosses Main, so everybody is very excited. You see a lot of heads snapping as they go down the street, taking a look at the Monkey Mobile. Jim, how did you come across this car?
This is the plug off the number 2 car. It's the mold off the race car. There's two of them, one for the TV series and one to race, take the show circuit. This is the mold. We took a mold off the number 2 car. This is a licensed vehicle, so I went ahead and purchased a 66 GTO and had everything transferred onto it.
Now, when did your, is it an obsession? I don't want to say obsession if it's not. When did your interest in classic cars come about? You owned the Batmobile at one point?
And since I was 15, 30 years.
What caused it?
Just like cars.
Like cars. What does it mean to you to own a car like this?
Just fun, just something different. I'm all about being different. So then I sell them and let somebody else enjoy them.
And you plan to sell this also?
Yeah, this goes up for sale September this year.
Now the Monkees, well, what will this car net? Let's get that one. What will this car do you think net?
I have no idea what this car is worth, none whatsoever.
Is there an estimated value?
No, not really. The original brought $350,000. I don't know what this one is. This is a copy.
Well, this is very much in mint condition, and you say the Monkees, well, I can see that the Monkees have been near this, the actual book.
Yeah, they've signed the car.
Now, when did that take place?
July of this month.
July. Now, did you take this down then?
No, I took the glove box down to them and they signed it.
Oh, you took the glove
Yeah,
box.
because the car wasn't completely done.
Did they see a copy of the car?
Yeah, they seen what I was doing.
What they think?
Oh, they loved it. They said brought back a lot of memories and they're going to work with it later on this year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
As they tour along. Let's take a look inside the car here.
Okay.
We actually have the signatures of the Monkees. I see. Now, which three signed it? Because there's one that doesn't tour with them right now, correct?
Yeah, that's Michael Nesmith.
Michael Nesmith?
His mother invented whiteout.
Now, but we have Davy Jones who signed it,
Peter
Ford,
Ford,
and Mick Dolenz. And that's very Now look at the dashboard in a car like this. Jim, to have a car intact like this, dashboard and all, and still running, how many of those are around? I know a lot of people tinker with these things, but of these TV classic cars, Munstermobiles, Batmobiles, Monkey Mobile, how are still this intact, even the copies?
I don't know how many there's out there. I mean, I'd just say probably a handful of that.
This is an amazing car. Now, what kind of material is the inside there?
It's got 4 GTO, 66 GTO bucket seats, and a custom-made back seat that folds out. It's got a canvas top, same as what you put on a boat.
Now, see, this canvas top is amazing. You can get a shot of this canvas top. Now, people who see the motor up there, now, what is that all about, Jim? Tell us about that.
BDS blower, fuel injected. The car was a hard top. We cut the top of it off just like the original and extended everything into the trunk.
Now, what about these pipes down here coming out of the tires?
Those are exhaust pipes, zoom pipes.
Now, what was special about the Monkey Mobile that they chose this car to look? Obviously, it didn't look this way when it came to them. But what was special about this type of car? Do you know any of the inside stories?
Well, the Pontiac donated a brand new 66 GTO, 2 of them. So this car could be, Dean Jeffries was the builder, so Dean Jeffries could build the car for the TV series.
Now, was it true that Dean was offered the cars when the show was over, but he passed up on them?
Yeah.
Do you know the reason for that?
Because he had the molds and he figured they were already beat up, so he'd go ahead and build his own if he had to.
And it would actually be cheaper to build his own than it would have been to build one of these.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. You built this, when this came to you, what did it come with?
66 GTO.
And how much money would you have to put into something to turn it into this?
Quite a bit.
I would imagine
Quite a
so.
bit. You'd have to know how to fabricate, you have to know how to, yeah, quite a bit.
How much time goes in?
Oh, I'd say about 8 hours a day, about 6 months.
Wow. But finished and happy.
Oh, yeah.
How fast does it go?
Oh, we'll probably do about 170, 180, no
Really?
problem.
Now, is there any special kind of preparation that goes into getting a car like this licensed because it is a replica?
Nope.
Just go up to the DMV and get it taken care
As
of.
long as it's a GTO, and it's already licensed as a GTO, so really no issues.
Now, where did you get the old car?
I got the old car in New York.
New York. Now, let's take a look at the tires. Everybody loves the tires. Tell us a little bit about the tires there, Jim.
Those are brand new Traeger SST tires that were bought brand new from Summit. The same thing that they had on the original 66.
What would you think, what do you, in your opinion, is the most special thing about the Monkey Mobile?
Just the outstanding features, the front end, the rear end. everything about the
parachute?
car. Yep, parachute. The back.
Now, what was the parachute all about in the previous series?
Nothing really. That was just a thing they did with custom cars back then. They could give you the illusion it had a lot of speed. Because a lot of the cars back in the 60s had parachutes, the Batmobile, Monkey's Mobile. There were a bunch of them that put parachutes on the back of them because they wanted you to think it had a lot of horsepower.
Well, this is an amazing machine, Jim. I'm sure you go to a lot of car shows. How many car shows have you visited with this, and will you visit this summer?
I don't know. I was supposed to do the Pontiac Nationals. I was invited to that tomorrow, Saturday. But we're supposed to have thunderstorms, so I kind of like don't go nowhere with the car if it's going to rain.
I can understand why. Well, Jim, it's a pleasure for you to bring this down to us, and I'm sure all the people around here who are driving by, you see a lot of head snap as they drive by. It's a beautiful, beautiful machine. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Spears back with you here. Monkey Mobile. People just can't be unhappy when they see that car. It's a great car, and I was so appreciative for him to bring it over so we could see it here on television today. Now, speaking of great things, we are joined today by a great Ohio State legend. Let me run this down for you. John Hicks is the name. I'm sure you all recognize that. First team All-American, 1972 and 1973. First team All-Big Ten, 1972 and 73. Second in the Heisman Trophy voting, 1973. Outland Trophy winner, 1973. Lombardi Trophy winner, 1973. And most recently, the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame in 2009. It's with great pleasure that we welcome John Hicks, Ohio State legend, to our program. John, thank you so much for making the trip.
Well, thank you, Scott. I'm sorry about last week. I just forgot.
You're allowed.
Well, we're glad to have you here this week. John, right off the bat, first thing I have to ask you is, well, what have you been up to? Let's start there.
Well, I'm a grandfather of two beautiful little kids, and got one on the way. I'm married to former Cindy Bird-Beck. She was from Springfield, Ohio. And I've been in business for 38 years in the real estate business. First with Glimcher Realty Trust, and subsequently with John Hicks Company. In addition, my family and I own a tape manufacturing company, which we have 107 licenses with the colleges, and we manufacture this tape, and this is a national company.
And it's called Fan Tape, and this is great. Now, can we get a close-up of this tape? This is so neat. This is Ohio State tape here, and when you pull it off, it's actually on the tape. It's not just on the box or on the roll. It's actually embedded in the whole roll of tape. It's very neat. John, where could we get it? It looks like you have is it masking or duct tape?
Well, we have duct tape and packing tape.
And packing tape.
We can get it here at the local Kroger stores, Myers, soon to be Giant Eagle and Walmart.
Great, great, and that's a national company.
That's correct.
That's great. Now, where did this idea come from?
One of my teammates, Champ Henson, an old farmer out of Asheville, was running around with saying he wanted a Ohio State duct tape. And he sold the business to me, and I brought my brother-in-law in it, and we expanded the line to go into packing and office tape because more use is in this office tape for wrapping, shipping, and just general office use around, notwithstanding back to school. And unfortunately, this year we're doing real well with Michigan.
Well, I tell you what, John, you're going to be with us all week here, the rest of the week here on the Exchange, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm sure talk a lot more about fan tape. One thing I want to do, though, and I just can't get by without asking you this, what do you think about what's going on at Ohio State? Tressel, Gee, upcoming football season?
Well, we had a little irresponsible reporting about what's going on at Ohio State. This extra benefit issue is a big issue from the standpoint that they're trying to police college football, much like basketball, where they have a lot of surrogates outside the programs. As far as Ohio State's concerned, we lost a good man, Jimmy Tressel. Jimmy Tressel is one of the greatest individuals you'll ever meet. And he unfortunately had to pay very dearly for this mistake. But with that being said, Luke Fickell is a great candidate. He's worked hard. I've been involved with Luke since he was 10 years old. I was his little league coach. Mm. And, there was a little time Michigan was after him, but we kind of straightened it out. And he's going to be a great leader of our program. People in Central Ohio and the Buckeye Nation is going to be really excited about having Luke Fickell as their head coach.
John, we're all kind of down now as Tressel has left and Terrell Pryor's gone, and we kind of feel like maybe it's not going to be one of those great Buckeye seasons that we've become accustomed to.
I don't think so. We have some really tremendous kids. And the thing about college football is that you do pass the baton. In a place like Ohio State, we have such a great tradition. But notwithstanding, we have a great love for all the players. And so you come here, you have a certain responsibility because you are a Buckeye. And yeah, we lost Terrell and we lost Jim, and we would have lost him at some point. But you got 4 kids that's competing like hell, working hard, and this bunch got a little chip on their shoulder. I wouldn't want to play them.
You were one of the all-time greats, so that's something coming from you. John, I want to just ask you point blank on this one. Should Jim Tressel have had to resign or be let go or whatever went on behind closed doors, should he have to not be the coach?
I didn't think we needed to sacrifice Jim, personally. And I made it be known with my discussions with management. But college football today, Coach Hayes always told us, once TV takes control of college football, the administrators do not control it. So it became a TV, media, public relations issue. It's really ironic. What's been lost in the whole transition is that the Ohio State football team is the #1 athletic football team in the country. They beat Stanford, they beat Northwestern. They had a 3.7 grade average, and their APR, which is what they measure from graduation and class and attendance, Ohio State had 1,050, and the next closest was 950. And that's something that, you know, Jim worked real hard with the kids, and it didn't get publicized.
How do you feel Gordon Gee has come through all this? Hasn't spoken yet, and Gene Smith, the athletic director.
Well, Gordon, like most CEOs, have to look at the big picture. And he loved Jim Trussell. You know, Jim was a great fundraiser. He was a great coach. He was well represented. And I mean, even in the Big Ten, like Commissioner Delaney said, that Jim Trussell has paid dearly for this mistake.
Will he work again?
No.
You don't think so? Why not?
It's hard. Where do you go from Ohio State? You're going to get USC? You're going to get Texas? Are you going to get Florida?
To the pros? No?
No, this is a better job than the pros.
I think you're right about that. I absolutely agree. It's going to be great to have John along all week, and I am going to ask him at some point this week a favorite Woody Hayes story, because you can't you can't get by without asking somebody like John Hicks that. I'm going to go into our how much time do we have left? 3 minutes? I tell you what, let's do a mailbag question today. For all of you who've been in broadcasting, what was your favorite interview, and what was your least favorite interview? Joanne and Marion. Well, I guess that's negated to a few here. Charlie, favorite and least favorite?
Oh boy, I don't know about a least favorite, but I remember interviewing the Marlboro man on my farm program once. We were talking about agriculture. I can't remember who he was representing at the time, but later on, the Marlboro man did die of lung cancer.
Sad.
Yes, it was sad. But I interviewed John Glenn once, and shortly after John had fallen in his bathtub, hit his head, and was, injured, and I had him in my van, and I never will forget. The last thing I said to him, just automatically, "Watch your head, John." Then I felt,
Mary and Destin worst.
Well, the worst, I think I've told you, and there may be some people out there who have heard this, was Sally Field. That was during the time of the Kenley Players, and they would bring in all of these stars during the summer, and they would perform in Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, and she was in I can't even remember the play. It was either a play or a musical that she was in, but when I was in Dayton at WDTN TV. And she did not want to be interviewed. I could tell right away she didn't want to be interviewed, because every time I asked her a question, she would give me a one-word answer, or she'd just give me a sigh like, "Oh, this is horrible." And so my photographer kept nudging me and saying, "Marianne, let's don't interview her. She doesn't want to be interviewed." I said, "This is my assignment. It's supposed to be on the 6 o'clock news. I have to do something." So I had run out of questions, and then I gave this really stupid question. I said, "Sally, what is your pet peeve?" Not a good question, because she said, "Pet peeve? Pet peeve? People like you who ask me what my pet peeve is." So I went back.
That's a gidget.
I went back to the news director, and I said, "Ed, I don't know. I don't have a report tonight." He says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I had a horrible interview with Sally Field." He said, "Well, let me look at it." So he looked at it, and he laughed, and he said, "Marianne, we are going to put on Sally Field on the 6 o'clock news and show everyone what Sally Field is really like." And I got a call from Los Angeles from John Kenley himself that night apologizing for Sally Field.
Favorite.
But she really is a nice person. I'm sure she was just had a bad time, I guess. I don't know.
Had a bad day. Favorite.
Well, I have a lot of favorite ones. I loved interviewing Dolly Parton. She was just a jewel, and I like. There were just. I mean, wonderful interviews that I've had, but I can remember that interview especially.
I think my favorites were Helen Thomas, Phyllis Diller, with a minute left to go. Least favorite, Karen Holbrook, and I'll tell you sometime why. That was my least favorite interview, but we don't have time to do that today. Want to end with the quiz question. What did gangster Al Capone's oldest brother, Jim, who went by the name Richard Two Gun Hart, do for a living? What did Richard Two Gun Hart do for a living? What do you do, Charlie?
I'm sure it was something very nice, something totally opposite of crime, but I can't, I have no idea.
Marianne, did you get a look at my paper?
No, I did not look at the paper. He always accuses me of cheating. I don't know why.
Well, what did he do?
Well, I'm thinking of Bret Hart. He was I think he was a novelist, but maybe he was a Western cowboy.
Lou, what did Al Capone's oldest brother do for a living?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's a tough one. Martha, you have any ideas?
No, I don't.
Shannon?
Marianne, you weren't far off with the Western cowboy. We've been discussing this over here.
John,
It is
what's
cowboy is
the
the
answer?
answer.
Cowboy.
Cowboy? Okay, we'll go with that. And we'll give you the answer at the top of tomorrow's program. Remember, go to the Exchange Marion on Facebook. Lou, thank you so much for coming in. It's my pleasure.
Glad
Lou
to be
Conkle,
here.
happy 91st birthday. We'll be back tomorrow.